Perfectly Obstinate People with Kathy Kolbe shares stories of resilience, persistence, and defiance. Kathy Kolbe's empowered millions to trust their guts, and now Kathy Kolbe empowers you to be you.
Kathy, why a podcast about obstinate people?
It's about time we obstinate people get a little credit for being out there, for being willing to take a risk, for being fearless when it comes to making a difference. If we're going to disrupt things and get rid of the status quo, we better be obstinate.
Aren't you just going to turn people off?
Sure. Whole bunches of them. Go away. I don't care. The people I care about are the people who want to be change makers. I shouldn't say that, should I?
Perhaps a little too obstinate?
Okay, so yes, you can be a little too obstinate. And sometimes I've been accused of being too obstinate. And sometimes I've been obstinate about being obstinate. Damn right I'm obstinate. And then they say, ooh, where did that come from? Well, that comes from deep inside. That comes from a frustration and anger with, why do I have to conform? Why do I have to fit some stereotype you have? When I was young, it was about being a young woman doesn't do that. Now, well, at your age, Kathy, you shouldn't be doing whatever. You know, stop standing in judgment. Stop confining people, putting them in a box. How do I help change that? I think just by being me. By being and doing what I do and saying what I think, and so be it. If you don't like it, then I'm not your person. Just go find someone you like.
I appreciate what you're saying about being real and authentic, but isn't it also true that we need a little more civility in our discourse?
Oh, I didn't say anything bad about you, did I? I didn't judge you or challenge you. I'm the one being judged and challenged when people ask me, why are you being obstinate, or why do you keep saying what you're saying or doing what you're doing? Why don't you just give it up? Or why don't you just soften the edges? I've been told to soften my edges since I was a little kid. And my reaction to that has always been, you should have the freedom to be you and do it your way. I need that same freedom. Just because most people don't think I do it the way they do it or the world does it, doesn't mean I should change. I'm not trying to change other people to make them less than or different than who they are. So it's not a criticism of other people.
I'm not sure what you mean when you say who they are. Who they are in what way?
When I say that, I'm always going back to your nature, your modus operandi, the way you do things. I'm not talking about how people think or what they care about or feel. And I think that's another important aspect here. I'm obstinate about doing things my own way. And my way is to take a risk, try it and see what happens, not have to know for sure it'll work before I just go blundering ahead. But my blunders often are my biggest successes. It's because I took a risk and tried something different and looked down a path that hadn't been traveled that I was able to discover new things. Sure, I'm a dyslexic, a serious, severe dyslexic. I get lost easily. I learned at a very young age that by getting lost, I found and discovered things I wouldn't have known. So I value my dyslexia. It's not a disadvantage. It's an advantage for me. Other people stand in judgment sometimes of people who are different or who go down different paths and think less of them because why didn't you do it the standard way? What I'm saying is be obstinate about doing it your way. Doing it your way is different than respecting other people or being smart enough to not get injured in the process. Your intellectual capabilities and what you can prove is very different than the way you prove it. So there's the cognitive part of the mind, which I greatly respect and have a lot of expertise in. I specialized in gifted education. I specialized in assessments that told us how smart people were and decided that's not the key to who you are.
But all this being yourself sounds great, but it sounds like a way to lose your job if your expectation is that you do something in a certain way.
Not if you're in a job that fits who you are. Find a career, find jobs that are suited to you. That's part of my life's work, is helping to create a career program that's based on identifying not what you want to do, but what you would be good at doing and would enjoy doing. It's that combination. Most career programs are interest-based. Well, great, I'm interested in animals. I cannot imagine me having a career that would have anything to do with animals because, I'm not an animal person in terms of a career path. That doesn't mean I don't love them. You can love something but not be good at it. You can know something and have the intellectual capability to do it, but it isn't right for you. A lot of people say, oh, I'm so passionate about flowers, I should be a gardener.
You have to give me an example of this. So if I really love something, I could maybe not be good at it. I mean, couldn't I learn enough about it to be good at it?
Let's take the gardening. Gardening involves working with the soil, digging, planting, trimming, a lot of physical activity, a lot of coordination, a lot of actual doing things in a tangible way, not sitting at a desk and thinking or sitting with a microphone and talking. I love to garden. Absolutely love it. And I can spend hours gardening for my own pleasure. If I had to get up every morning and go to work and garden, I wouldn't make a very good living. Maybe if I had an entrepreneurial garden where I had other people come in and I told them what to do, it would always come back to my instincts, the word is conative, my natural conative mindset, my modus operandi would be to find out unique ways to thrive by having a surprisingly wonderful, different kind of garden. It's the way you do it, it's not what you do. And if we follow and have the gumption to be who we are, and gumption's just a synonym for obstinate, it's a fun one that I love. So I could have called this the Gumption podcast, but I like obstinate because it's a drive, it's an energy that goes beyond just having gumption. It's saying, I'm going to be tenacious in doing this, and I will overcome the obstacles of either not knowing or having people not care by what I do. So being obstinate is a conative doing, not a cognitive, intellectual level or an affective passion. Actually, I don't have to be theoretical about this. I had a landscaping business, a gardening, it wasn't landscaping. I had a gardening business. And I did this when I first moved to Arizona, of all places. So it's hot. People are having trouble with gardens. We had really bad nurseries around here. We did not have much going for us in the way of bringing in unique plants and stuff. So I started what I called wonder gardens. And it was very unique. It was out of my backyard, but I got an Arizona nurseryman's license, did all the right things. And what I specialized in was bringing in unique plants from all around the country and even the world. Then I would get the nursery magazines and I'd search out what would grow in this climate that wasn't here. And then I found a whole lot of people who said, oh, this is beautiful, but I don't want to have a messy patio. And all the obstacles seem to be around the mess that plants make, and that this is an outdoor playground here. So I decided to use hanging baskets that weren't on the ground. There was something unique about them, but they also solved some problems. So I specialized in unique plants in hanging baskets that would thrive in Arizona. And I started making money and gathering a lot of interest. And of course, being the educator at heart, I started classes on how to create these. It was thriving business, but it wasn't sustainable for me because it wasn't my heart and soul of changing minds. But it was so much fun.
You mentioned tenacity. How does that tenacity or perseverance play into this obstinacy thing?
Well, there's synonyms for obstinance. when I couldn't find the kind of plants I wanted, and I thought Arizona deserved and needed and could thrive with more and broader range of plants, I just started doing it. And I was tenacious and finding a way to do it, and then teaching people to do it, and then getting some of the people who sold plants here to take some risk with things. I mean, you couldn't find a begonia bulb in Arizona that was blooming, and then some of the nurseries started bringing them in. So you have to be tenacious. It's not enough to just be obstinate for the day. That doesn't really cut it. You have to be tenacious about it. You have to have the gumption also to try to not only have the freedom for yourself, but if you really believe in what you're doing at a high enough level, you have to foment change.
So does this require some level of judgment? I mean, do you have to pick your battles about when to be obstinate?
I think you very much have to say, these are the things I believe in the most. We have a limited amount of this conative thing, this energy in our brain. You can't just be a wind-up toy and do. You can't be obstinate about everything. So pick your battles, pick your obstinances. You can't be passionate about everything.
So if I become more obstinate about being who I am, how's this going to impact my life?
Let me tell you a story about a client of mine who came to me one time and said, I've worked for this company for a long time. I've done everything they've asked me to do. I've succeeded at the things I've been asked to do. I've been a good leader, and I've just been passed over. They narrowed it down to 3 of us for president, and I've been passed over. And I think it's because I've been the good guy, and I haven't fought enough. And I don't know what else, because I've done everything that they expected, and I've won all kinds of awards. What is it? Well, when I looked at the guy's situation and asked him questions, the first thing I said was, what is it that is your claim to fame here? And he said, I've always done what I've been asked to do, and I've not failed at it. And I said, that's your problem. You haven't done what you weren't asked to do. You haven't gone out above and beyond. You haven't been obstinate about, I am going to do this. This is my thing. You haven't exerted what many people see as leadership, what many people see as the drive to excel, because you've been satisfied with doing what you thought others were satisfied with. Nobody's satisfied with being satisfied. You need more than that. You need to show gumption. You need to show leadership. You need to have been obstinate. And then I taught him some tricks for being obstinate in a good way, always productively. But it's saying in a meeting after everybody else has agreed to do something, wait a minute. And then that very pregnant pause where there's silence. What we haven't considered is, and if they interrupt you, wait a minute, you need to listen. I said, now you're in center stage. You're being obstinate enough to say, I'm not ready to just go along. We need to consider something else. And sometimes you're thinking up what that something is during the pause. But you know you got to do it, or you're just going to be another one of the yes people. And I know people who are what I call quick starts, who are the entrepreneurial innovators of the world, who rarely know what they're going to say before they say it. But those are the gems that come off as that productive obstinance of, yeah, but I'm not satisfied. There's got to be one more thing we could be doing. That's what's memorable, and that's what gets them the position.
But you could plan for that moment ahead of time if you know what the meeting's about and you know what's being considered.
Yes. Often people who are big planners will plan for the big crescendo at a meeting where, yes, everything's on the agenda, we'll follow the agenda, but right here under new business, I've got this thing that I have a prototype, I'm going to show it to them, and I'm going to give them the budget for it and show them the amount of incredible profit we'll have. They didn't ask for it, they're going to see it, and we're going to do it. And that is a form of obstinacy where you're not following the usual. I mean, obstinate doesn't have to be a rude, disarming kind of situation, but it is disarming in the sense of no one expected you to go as far as you went.
Sounds like it has to do with conviction.
Yes. Oh, obstinacy is conviction. It is a conviction that you can do something that will work and make a difference. It is having the confidence to do that. It is having a commitment to making that difference. You have to be a pretty high level of energy and a commitment to the organization to be obstinate, and people see that. If you just sit back and are the nice guy, as this example was one of the world's nicest guys, he didn't know how to look like a leader. A leader is obstinate. And that's the most important thing in life. And that's what we should be obstinate about. Be who you are, and do not compromise that. And do not ask for other people to help you do it, because it's up to you. And you got to have the gumption to do it. Don't give yourself excuses. Give yourself the truth that yes, you can.
Thanks for listening to Perfectly Obstinate People with Kathy Kolbe. Make sure you subscribe today so that you don't miss an episode. It's easy, 100% free, and 100% Kathy. Visit perfectlyobstinate.com for more. That's perfectlyobstinate.com.